Hi everyone, I want to welcome you to this Google Hangout. I'm Linda Braun and I'm the editor of YALS, and I am here with Gretchen Calderup, who is the member manager for YALSA's Hub blog, and Wendy Stevens, who's the member manager for the YALSA blog. And we're going to talk about the blogs and what they're about and maybe getting people to write for the blog. So I want each of you to introduce yourselves. And Gretchen, who are you?
My name's Gretchen, and I'm the head of teen services at the Bronx Library Center for New York Public Library, and then I'm also the manager of YALSA's YA Lit blog, The Hub.
Great, thank you. And Wendy, who are you?
I'm Wendy Stevens. I'm a high school librarian in Coleman, Alabama, and I'm also the member manager for the YALSAblog.
Great, thanks. And I thought that if each of you could say what the goal and purpose of your blog is, and maybe who the audience is, because actually I think people might not realize that the audiences are a little bit different for each of the blogs. So Gretchen, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about the Hub?
Okay, so the Hub is YALSA's YA Lit blog. We talk about mostly YA literature, but sometimes other aspects of teen media culture if it ties in. So, you know, when a movie adaptation of a popular book is made, we'll talk about that. And I would say our audience is primarily librarians and teachers, but we also have a lot of readers who are just YA lit lovers of all ages and backgrounds, because there's a really vibrant YA book blogging community online, and I like to think that we're part of that.
And so you actually, teens are one of your audiences. It's not just for the professional community, correct?
Right, and so when we write, we don't talk a lot about a specific library perspective. We're just talking about the reading and about reading culture.
Yeah, and I don't think everybody realizes that. So Wendy, what's different about the YALSA blog then?
I would say that the audience probably is more narrow. For the YALSA blog, it's more geared towards people who are working with teens, maybe in different capacities. I do know, like Gretchen said, there are lots of teachers, reading specialists, people who work in educational settings who also read the blog, but we do really focus on tools and techniques and issues which are of concern for librarians who are serving teens in both school and public library environments.
So what are some of the topics that have been covered recently, to put you on the spot? Can you think of any? I'm sure you can.
Are we going in alphabetical order? Is Gretchen going, or you want me to?
No, that's a follow-up question for you.
Oh, okay. Well, I would say, you know, we've one of my favorite parts of the blog, which I've been writing for a bit, is the app of the week. So definitely tool-based. Linda, you do a great roundup every week of the tweets which are applicable to teen services professionals that you might have missed, you know, over the course of the last 7 days. Recently, we've started a pop culture column, which is pretty exciting. We've got someone who is working on a post right now about ways to leverage services for teens that may be reading books that are, you know, more traditionally associated with younger readers, series books, things along those lines. I would just say I feel like we try to incorporate any issue which is going to be applicable to teen services librarians that is not directly literature related, so sort of everything but the books is the way I think of it.
And that's where Gretchen's blog comes in. It's your blog, Gretchen, where the Hub comes in. Do you have favorite posts from the recent past?
Well, we've been trying recently to talk a lot more about diversity in YA Lit, both in who the protagonists are and in who's writing the books, and then in how the books are published and everything. So we did 2 posts a couple months ago that talked about the depiction of characters of color on covers of books. And some of them were, the first post was about characters who their faces are obscured, or they're in profile, or it's pulled out so far that you can't tell, or they're just plain misrepresented. And then we followed that up with a post about book covers that got it right, so book covers that prominently feature who the book is about. And then we just published an interview with the Children's Book Council Diversity committee thing, which is people from all across publishing that get together and talk about how they can increase the representation of diverse characters and authors in books for kids and for teens. And so we posted an interview with them. So we're really trying to be a part of that dialogue. But then we also do a lot of like goofy, fun stuff too. So a couple months ago, we had a list of books that characters from a specific manga would enjoy reading. So we just kind of try to do a whole big swath of news and current events and book lists that kids can, or teachers or kids or librarians can use, discussion of current events that are going on, just all over the place, everything.
Yeah, they're just a lot of fun. And actually, now another question for both of you that I just thought of. So who comes up with the ideas for these posts? Gretchen, who comes up with the ideas for the posts on the Hub?
I send out some email, like an email every month with some ideas, but it's mostly the bloggers themselves. We have a really great team that we've assembled of people who really love reading, love teens, love teen literature, and are really plugged into what's going on. And they're the ones who come up with all the good stuff. I come up with all of the kind of boring procedural sort of stuff, but they're the ones who come up with the creative ideas.
They are really creative. And Wendy, where do the ideas for the Hub come from?
I would say it's, well, for the YALSAblog, it's definitely a collaborative effort. You know, there are some things which we want to make sure that we cover in terms of sort of the governance of the organization and things which, you know, members are definitely going to be interested in that way. But then, you know, there's a YALSAblog manager email account, which you get lots of amazing press releases that that you know to that account. So that's been one tremendous resource. I feel like I've just got a lot of people on the ground with their ears sort of to whatever's going on currently, who give me wonderful ideas. A lot of them are blogger generated, which is fantastic. Just yesterday I had someone email and ask if we had space for a guest post about creating a portal for sort of a community resource clearinghouse, a project that's going on at the University of Michigan. So I was really excited. I thought, well, that sounds like a really neat project. It was sort of tying it into the maker movement and the Maker Day that at Midwinter. It was sort of an outgrowth of that. So I thought that was a nice sort of ALA connection.
So for both of you, actually, you take the bloggers come up with ideas, you come up with ideas, and then also you would take ideas from the field, so to speak.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, great. And that also makes me ask, so what if someone wanted to write for the blog? What would they have to do? Either of you, go.
We always want new bloggers for the Hub. So bloggers have to be YALSA members. And all they have to do is send an email to yalsahub@gmail.com and let me know they're interested. I'll work with them on finding a topic that's of interest to them and that fits in with what we're working on. They write up a post, I do some editing, send them a mock-up of what it'll look like, we publish it, and if that all goes well and it's kind of a good experience, then they're invited to become a regular blogger.
So there's a trial period on the Hub before you become an official blogger.
Yes, and that's just to make sure that you have a good perspective, you have writing skills. It's not, you know, it's not super intensive or anything like that. It's just kind of to make sure that you're ready to blog on a national level.
Your red pen doesn't come out.
Right.
I don't think, right? And Wendy, how does it work? So if somebody wants to write for the YALSAblog?
I would say it's been very similar. You know, there have been some people who I've known have been writing and are comfortable writing for different venues. Other people I've sort of requested, you know, a sample of their writing. I know that, you know, I do some editing. So if people, you know, are hesitant to jump in, you know, I'm happy to help them sort of make it a little bit more maybe YALSA-ish and focus on the division. But I'm not really. I guess I used to be an English teacher, so maybe that's some of that coming through. But you know, like Gretchen said, we just really want a real diversity of voices and new bloggers, and you know, we don't want to hear from the same people over and over and over. So you know, I like having different voices there in the blog.
And if somebody, what kind of time commitment it is? So do they have to write every week or every month? Wendy, what about
I
for the
would
YALSA
say
blog?
it's entirely up to the individual. It's interesting because I was recently sort of polling our bloggers to ask, what we could do to help them. And there were a couple that were very honest and said, I haven't had time to blog, but keep me on the list, keep me in the loop. I hope to do it. So I think that's fine. I would like to have someone blog, at least maybe, every other month or so, 6 times a year. And I always think of blog writing as sort of first draft writing. I don't think it has to be, perfectly polished, but, just sort of off the cuff and conversational rather than, and I always tell people 5 paragraphs is a good length too. You don't want to have this sort of epic blog post that goes on and on and on. If that's the case, you may just want to separate it up into to separate individual posts.
Or you might want to have a y'all's article. So there's always that too.
Mm-hmm.
Just a pitch. And Gretchen, how about for you? How often do people have to write or anything like that?
We do require our bloggers to write 1 blog post a month, but like Wendy said, it's not a gigantic commitment. I mean, it's writing for the internet, so it's pretty casual, it's pretty conversational, and we have a fairly firm limit of no more than 1,000 words, so really, like, you're not getting into a whole lot. And we also like posts that are pretty visual, whether that involves images or graphics or video or whatever, like a playlist, an interactive map. And so even if you're not super into writing and having like a perfectly crafted post or whatever, you have things that you can contribute that we would love to publish. So once a month, but it's not a huge amount of pressure. And if people want to write more than that, I love having more to publish.
And you both have a calendar that people sign up on, right? So on a Google Calendar, and people sign up, put in a date or 2 or 3 and what they're going to post, and that's it, right? It's pretty simple to get scheduled.
And that's helpful for us so that we can see kind of what's coming and make sure that we're not talking about the exact same thing all the time, or make sure that we're covering a lot of different things, and then it allows us to know when you're planning on writing something so that we can send you a reminder.
Right, yeah, that's great. Now, do you guys do any cross blog or have any cross blog ideas? Are you working on that? Is that of interest? What kinds of things happen across the 2 blogs?
Well, definitely the Francesca Goldsmith piece, which we just cross-posted, was what played in both places, and it seemed to be really successful on the YALSAblog because it was about selection committees, and so it sort of hit both of the audiences for the Hub and the YALSAblog. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to more collaborative cross-posting in the future. I know Gretchen mentioned pairing YALSA and Hub bloggers, which I love that idea, and I guess my ultimate goal is to have things in place so that it's really easy for we're doing something on bullying this month. Maybe a Hub blogger could list some titles that included perspectives on bullying that were applicable to the readers of the YALSAblog piece on that.
Yeah, I would say that our big cross-posting things we've done in the past have been live blogging the YMAs and the Best Fiction for Young Adults teen feedback session. But now that Wendy's gotten started, I'm really looking forward to doing more with that. And I know she's also doing some good collaborative stuff with the YALSAblog, kind of trying to cross-post with them too to see that overlap. And I think that's a really great idea, and maybe the Hub can get in on that as well.
I hope so.
That's great. And actually, we failed to mention that Wendy's doing this and has only been the YALSAblog manager for a month, right? We're recording this on March 3rd, and you officially started February 1st. Am I right about that?
Yeah, so 30 days of maintaining.
Oh, right. It literally is just 30 days, isn't it? Yeah, because February is such a short month. Well, congratulations. So finally, is there anything, if someone said to you, what should I know about the Hub blog, or what would you want me to know about the YALSAblog? Is there something you would say that would, in a pitch or something for someone to go back and say, oh, that's the blog for me, or I want to tell my teens or whatever? Is there something you want people to know specifically about your blog? And I'm just throwing that out there. So I'm not calling on a person. I'm just going to let you think for a minute and jump in if you have something.
Well, one of the things that I would definitely say is that we really want it to be sort of a clearing. I feel like youth services can be very lonely if you're the only person in your library who's dealing with that, or if you're a school librarian and you're, basically a solo librarian. So I really want it to become a community where people share ideas for programming and really help the youth services professionals to feel like they're on top of what's going on both nationally in the field, but also find those kindred spirits that they can borrow great ideas from, and just sort of have a warehouse of tools as well, so that if you want to do a maker program or something maybe for National Poetry Month, something specific, that you can go to the blog and find examples that have worked in other places.
And I'd say that I think one of the characteristics of the hub is that it's both informative and it's fun. I think there's a lot of YA lit out there, and it's hard to know what's going on, what's coming out, what's good, what's not. Seeing some trends in what's happening, and we definitely cover all of that really well. It's a good way to steep yourself in what's going on. But we also do a lot of fun stuff too, not just the kind of more playful posts. But like right now we have the Hub Reading Challenge going on, where we've challenged our readers to read as many books from YALSA's Best of the Best list. So the award winners and honor books, the top 10 lists for all of the selected lists, and then also the titles that were recognized by the Schneider Family Book Award and the Stonewall Book Award. So we're challenging them to read as many of those as they can over the next couple months, and if they get to 25 by the end of June, there are prizes involved. So there's it's a good way to challenge yourself to learn more, to experience more, but it's also a lot of fun. It's fun to kind of, like Wendy said, be part of that community. So educational plus fun.
Education plus fun equals learning.
Yes.
That's great. Well, thank you both for talking to me in this hangout.